through when the growth look good on you. Best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
What's going on, people? What's going on? It's G. We're back in the building. Guys, please make sure you are smashing that like button for me. Please make sure you do share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I hope everybody is doing well. So today, why are we here, man? Why are we here? You know, I've missed doing the scout reports and stuff like that. You know, we were doing that quite a lot, you know, last summer, obviously with everything that was going on. And even actually the summer before that, we was doing it, you know, just because, you know, in terms of the transfers that, you know, Liverpool weren't doing, you know, a lot of us kind of sat there and thought, yo, man, something just ain't really right. You know, it's just not right with Liverpool at this current moment in time. So, you know what? I said this summer, we'll bring it back. We'll bring it back, you know, because I know there's a few positions. And of course, you know, when the summer transfer window starts, there's going to be a lot of talk in terms of which players Liverpool should buy, shouldn't buy, which players should we be looking at, what players are we actually linked with. We know how Liverpool stay. Liverpool are kind of a club where I will talk about a player now and I guarantee there will have been no link with that player whatsoever. But, you know, journalists and, you know, social media and all these kind of things, you know, they constantly keep putting these kind of things out. But I said, you know what? It is what it is. We're here anyway. It's for the content. So let's just run with it. Let's just run with it, man. So enough of the background crap. We're here today to talk about Leny Yoro, the 18-year-old centre-back, currently playing over there in Ligue 1 with Lille. Good little player, man. As I said before, you know, he's only 18 years of age. He turns 19 in November. And it's a bit of a weird one because quite a lot of top teams are after him, by the way. You know, I've heard Real Madrid, they look like they were about to get him, or they look like they were going to get him. I don't know, PSG as well. Of course, he's French, young, very, very good. So, of course, with their kind of project and what they're trying to do, Liverpool, from what we heard from reports earlier on, a few weeks ago, a month ago, I think it was, in regards to the fact that Liverpool are looking at a centre-back, you know, this summer. Everything's just kind of all over the gaff. But this is a player that I think if you could afford him, and again, that's only going to apply for a few clubs. If you could afford him, I think you would go out and sign him. Centre back primarily likes to play mostly on that right hand side. Of course, came through the Lille Academy. He actually scored his first goal for Lille this season. And he debuted for Lille back in 2022. So we're talking about 2 years ago. He debuted for them as a 16-year-old, becoming the second youngest debutant for Lille, actually replacing Eden Hazard, which is quite an interesting little fun fact, you know, about him. Good player, man. I'll start off with that. He's a good player. The fact that, you know, and again, these are, whether the reports are true or not, I don't really know. But let's just take it for it is true. Let's just go for the hypothetical world, yeah, that Liverpool are actually after him, right? So when I look at on the face of it, he is a good centre-back, you know, but he also seems like a centre-back that if we didn't have a Quansah already, I probably would look at someone like him. And the only reason why I say that is just purely because of his age. He's 8, he's younger than Quansah, you know, and I almost feel like the next club that he goes to, he's going to want to continue playing. You know, he's not going to want to kind of just sit on the bench and, you know, just kind of dilly-dally. Of course, obviously, if you go to a Real Madrid, that might be different. But even Real Madrid, I even feel like, would they sign him and just maybe potentially loan him back out? That, you know, that was a thought that kind of popped, you know, through my head when I was thinking about it. You guys can obviously see on the screen here, he's played 44 games this season, you know, in all competitions, both in Ligue 1, the Conference League, Coupe de France, and the UEFA Europa League qualifying stages, Conference League, qualifying stages. So played a lot of football. He has played a lot of football. So I feel like he'd be a defender, or he'd be a player just in terms of his own profile. He wants to kind of continue. You know, he represented France at the youth stages as well, under 17s, under 18s and stuff like that. You know, so definitely not a player I think is just going to want to sit around. So when I hear that Liverpool are potentially linked with him, I'm a little bit like, he's a good player. Honestly, he is a very, very good player. And of course, we'll get into his strengths and his weaknesses in a second. But It's not that I'm, dismissing him as a footballer. I'm not saying, oh, he's rubbish, don't sign him. No. He is a very good player. I want people to understand that. But unfortunately, we're kind of in a situation, I feel anyway, if Liverpool are going to go out and sign a centre-back, I just feel that centre-back maybe just needs to be a bit more experienced, just a little bit more experienced. Again, that's if you, unless you was going to sell Konate and then you've only got Virgil and Quansah there, then yeah, you can get one experience and then get a Leny Yoro as well. Fair enough, but I don't see Liverpool doing that. So yeah, that's where the catch-22 kind of comes in, for me anyway. This is his heat map. Primarily on that right-hand side, as you can kind of see as a centre-back. As I said, him being right-footed, I know some people said, he's left-footed, right? He can use both, but I think he's more predominantly a right-footed centre-back. He's more comfortable anyway. And even if you look at the way he even positions his body, and that's when I usually tell, because you'll only position it on your strongest foot when you're trying to do something. And you see the way that he defends more often than not is he's always going to try and stand, his back leg is always going to be on that right foot. So that's why I feel I'm going to say he is right-footed. But again, I'm not saying he can't use, his left foot as well, because he can. But to me, he looks like he's more primarily someone who is right-footed. And if he's right-footed and he plays more as a right-sided centre-back, do we need another one of those? I don't think we do. I think we're more looking at that left-sided centre-back. But then again, I don't know what Liverpool are going to do this summer. None of us know. Do you get what I mean? None of us really and truly know. Guys, I guarantee we're going to do so many of these scout reports throughout the summer, the transfer window and stuff, and I guarantee the success rate is going to be super low. It's going to be super low. Last season I got Szoboszlai. I think he was the one I got right in terms of players that I wanted, and then Liverpool went out and actually went and signed him. Szoboszlai was on the list, and we ended up signing him. So yeah, I don't see it being one of those things that we will most definitely get. But again, we'll wait and see. To his stats. Defensive stats weren't really that great. I'll be honest with you. When you compare him to, of course, other centre backs out there, weren't really that great. When you look at it here, you guys can see obviously on the side of the screen. Yeah, tackles. Let me put it this way: when he compares to other centre backs, it's not that great. In isolation, it wasn't too bad, if that makes sense. So I guess really and truly, if the data guys over at Liverpool, they might look at that and think, okay, well, tackles he does 1.21 per 90 minutes. Obviously it ranks low, but cool, that's fine with us. Tackles 1, less than 1, that might be something potentially to sort out. And again, we'll look at the strengths and the weaknesses as to why that might potentially be low. Dribblers tackled, less than 1 again. Dribblers challenged, 1.04. Percentage is 54.8. Challenges lost, 0.47, which ranks him relatively high, just over that 50 percentile. Blocks, 0.67 per game. Shots blocked, 0.47. Passes blocked, 0.20. Interceptions, 1.21. We know how Liverpool play. We know the kind of style. Obviously, we're going to have a new style. Well, we're going to have a 2.0 style than what we previously had. But of course, that's obviously going to be something that maybe they might potentially look at and think, okay, 1.21 interceptions per 90 minutes might actually be a good thing. And of course, being in a better team and things like that, these kind of stats will look, what you hope they will look a lot better. Clearances 3.30 as well, and an errors 0.03 per 90 minutes. I was hoping that would be 0, but it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, when he ranks up against other centre backs out there, yeah, it doesn't make for great reading in the defensive stats, so to speak. I think where his strengths, would I say, lie, is more when he's in possession and stuff like that. And here you'll see, there'll be a lot more greens and greys and stuff like that. Touches 71.35, ranks up to 66th percentile. What's another one we could look at? Take-ons attempted, 0.37. So you can tell he's someone who is comfortable bringing the ball out from the back. He is comfortable being someone who doesn't mind going on that Matip type of run, that we always talk about. Carries 55.20, ranks him in the 87th percentile. Like I said, that Matip type of player. Progressive carries 0.27, carries into the final third 0.24. Miscontrol 0.50, passes received 51.87. And if you look at the top of this, Successful take-ons, his percentage is at 72.7%, which ranks him in the 75th percentile. Again, this is where I feel like his strengths lie. He is someone who, it's difficult because I was about to say he's better on the ball than he is off it, but I do think he's actually pretty decent off the ball. I don't feel like he's someone who I look at and think, oh God, you know what, he's actually really woeful, off the ball and stuff like that. I do think he's actually, somewhat okay, so to speak, but it is what it is. And again, like I said, playing for Lille as opposed to playing for Liverpool, I guess you take with these kind of things with a grain of salt, right? You're not you'll look at certain things and think, okay, that's either too low or whatever, or that's too high, maybe because you're a team who defend a lot, or you're a team who concedes possession a lot in games, and all these other kind of various different things. But like I said, it is what it is, and these are just to show you the stats. This ain't, I'm not trying to really scrutinize too much, unless this was a player that was coming in literally tomorrow. Then we can really start scrutinizing it in terms of, oh, can he do this? Can he do that? Can he do this? Can he do that? This is just more, would I say, somewhat of an overview, so to speak. Passing though, if we move on to the, the passing stats. So when we are looking at the passing stats, this is where I feel like he really is excelling. As I said, he is comfortable in possession in a general sense, but you can see here, passes completed per game, or per 90 minutes, 58.29 puts him in the 74th, percentile. Passes attempted 63.31. Pass completion though 92.1%, which ranks him really high on that 93rd percentile. Pass completion, short passes 95.5%. Again, passes completion medium percentage 95.6%, which puts him in the 95th percentile. So passing, clearly, as you guys can see, and again, I implore you guys to go check this out for yourself on FBREF. Check them out. You guys already know. I've used them so many times, and so have many others. You'll see it, for yourself. And when you look at these kind of things, you're like, okay, this is a guy who really is comfortable passing the football. This is really a guy who, I'm not worried about him. If we do start playing out from the back, as an example, we're not looking at him thinking, oh, bloody hell, we can't pass the ball. Those kind of things, because again, that might be that will be a hindrance somewhat, in terms of maybe the way that Slot might try and play moving forward. Long passes though, in terms of the completed, was only 4.21 per 90 minutes, so that ranked him at the 43rd percentile. But again, like I said, with certain stats, that might just be because of the way Lille play. I'm not here to tell you how they play, because I don't know. But if you go and check them out, maybe that might be a reason. Might not. It might, that might be no excuse, and there are teams who play lots of long balls. No idea, but it could have a little impact as to why you might see certain things and think to yourself, well, why is that really low? Why is that not really, as good? But his pass completion in terms of the long passes, 64.4%. So again, passing, you can tell that's where, again, I was just about to say excel, but I don't even really want to say excel, if I'm being 100%, honest with you guys, because I feel like when we do look at, his actual strengths, so to speak, and I apologize if the images is not as clear, but if you enlarge on the screen, pause, then you'll be able to see it better. The way he positions himself and his reading of the game, his IQ of the game, that's where I feel he's someone who really does excel. From the highlights and the little, I think I watched Lille like twice this season, but I've watched quite a lot of the highlights of him. And when you're looking at the way that he defends, it's his reading of the game, and that's what gives him the edge. He's got a bit of pace about him. Relatively strong. I'm not going to say he's the strongest, but again, he's only 18. He's got that kind of lanky kind of figure about him, in terms of quite tall, long limbs and stuff like that. Will he grow into those or fill out in those kind of areas? No idea. Does he really need to? Potentially, when you're coming to the Premier League, especially with the type of players in the Premier League, very physical league as well, maybe that might be an area for him to potentially look at. But when I'm just talking about purely his defending, his reading of the game, that's where I think he is someone who's really, really good. And I think that when you're looking again at these stills here, you can see the positions that he's taking up. If you see in the first one, the positions that he's taking up, the area of the pitch that he needs to make sure that he's in, his body position, all of these other things, again, it's that maturity, it's that reading of the game that I really, really, like about him. And again, one thing that I will say in regards to Leny Yoro is he really does have this kind of laid back approach to his defending. Reminds me a lot of Van Dijk in that regard. It really does remind me a lot like Virgil van Dijk in terms of won't always engage. Now, whether you feel like that's a strength or kind of weakness, I'm going to leave that one for you guys to interpret yourself. I'm going to leave that one for you to interpret, because obviously we see the way that Virgil defends. We've seen then the way that, say, a Konate defends, polar opposites. One's very laid back, calm, cool, hair's barely ever messy. It's always, you know, slick back. He's calm. Konate now, if he had hair, like if he had more hair like a Virgil, Jesus Christ, I know that shit will be everywhere because of the way that, you know, he's quite aggressive, front-footed, you know, type of defender. Strong in the tackle and stuff like that, not like Virgil isn't, but just the aggressive nature about a Konate. Leny Yoro isn't like that. He's a cool, calm customer. And maybe with certain players, it's because of their reading of the game. Maybe they feel that, like a Virgil, I know what my own strengths are and I know what my own weaknesses are. Now, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what a Virgil weakness actually is, to be fair to you, because we rarely ever see it. Why don't we ever see it? Purely because he isn't going to show you that side of his game, because his football IQ, his reading of the game is at such a high level. So he understands that, you know, to not put myself in a position whereby, you know, anybody can get at me because, I don't know, I'm not that strong on my left-hand side. As a very vague example, guess what? I'm going to position myself in this kind of area. I'm going to put myself in this kind of space, whether that means I drop off of my partner next to me so that he's kind of the one who's a bit more in front and I drop off. Just give them a little bit of pace, a little bit of space, because I know I've got the pace just in case they do try to kick it and run. I can always get there. I've got the strength to be able to shield them off, and also to kind of give me time to kind of, you know, toy with them, you know, so to speak. You know, we all remember that Virgil van Dijk versus Spurs, the 2v1 situation. You know, most defenders I know would have just dived in there at some point in time. At some point in time, they're diving in. Konate diving in, getting a yellow card. You know what? He's diving in, getting a yellow card, but they would have gone on to score. You know, referee would have played advantage, come back. We can see the goal, and then, you know, Konate gets himself a yellow card, potentially even a red, you know, being the last man and everything like that. But Virgil, and he's done that a couple times where he's been in those kind of situations. Now, as Liverpool fans, we do get a little bit annoyed at that at times, because we always at times we will ask, you know, can you engage a little bit? Can you show a little bit of urgency? You know, you can't always wait, and that's where it can be. That's why I say I'll leave that for you guys, whether you want to see that as a strength or a weakness. But I feel like Leny Yoro definitely has that in his game. He has that about him, that calmness, you know, that to be able to just say, you know what, I trust myself. And maybe it is just more of that. I trust myself. I know what I can do. It doesn't matter what you can do. I'm more concerned with what I can do. And guess what? Because I'm so assured in what I can do, I'm not really too fast. I'm really, 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 you know, not too fast. So again, like I said, I'll leave that for interpretation. You kind of, you know, can figure that one out in terms of whether you feel that's a strength or you feel that, you know, it's potentially a weakness. When we are looking at a weakness, as I mentioned before, you know, it is one of those things where I have to leave up to interpretation in terms of, you know, what you may believe to be, you know, so, you know, it is going to be one of those kind of things where you are kind of be like, you know, oh crap, you know what, I don't know if that's going to be good, you know, for us, depending on how we want to play, you know, moving forward. And at times when players are running, you know, at Leny Yoro, he does find himself in a little bit of a bother, especially when they're defending quite deep in those kind of situations. And again, under those kind of pressure moments, from what I've seen, that kind of looks like an area where, you know, they've got the ball quite in a somewhat deep area. It might just be, you know, knocking it around the back, but the other team is closing in. When that happens, you do see that at times his positioning just looks a little bit off. You know, at times in that specific situation, when the opposition is pressing and they're pressing quite high, that's where I feel like, oh, okay, he may just need to work on potentially just being a little bit quicker. But again, I feel like it goes back to the whole being so calm and being kind of laid back. I don't want to say lethargic, because they're not lethargic, but just laid back approach. Well, I'll say that laid back approach at times, I feel with Leny Yoro, that's where, you know, the plus and minuses, you know, start to kind of come into it. Everything else in terms of his defending, when he's not in that type of situation, I feel like he does quite fine. I feel like he is actually all right. And he does remind me a lot of when Raphael Varane was at Lens, and Real Madrid of course came in for him. That maturity, that reading of the game is really, really good. But of course, he's only 18 years of age, so there are going to be situations that right now he's still working his way through those. He's still trying to figure out, okay, cool, in that kind of situation, I need to make sure I'm positioned over here, or I need to make sure I drop off a little bit, or I need to make sure I'm releasing that ball a lot quicker. And I feel like that's where, with time and experience, those kind of things will come into play. But that's kind of like really the only real weakness I kind of saw, in his game. But again, please let me know, in the comment section in regards to him. And just before we end, I was looking at, ultimately we've got a defender here, in Jarell Quansah, and he's been someone who has been excellent, this past season, just gone by, and he's kind of shocked most people, if I'm being honest, in terms of how consistently good he has actually been. And he's so young, not played in the first team before, and all these other various different things. Now you guys can obviously see up on the screen there. There you go. You can see up on the screen there, on the left-hand side is Leny Yoro, on the right-hand side is Jarell Quansah. Now, Quansah's actually played less games than Leny Yoro in their respective leagues. I think it was about 30 or 32 or something like that for Leny Yoro, and 17 in the Premier League for Jarell Quansah. But this is per 90 minutes, and you see ground duels contested for each game, from Jarell Quansah on the right-hand side. Ground duels won 2.4. Jules won in games 5.8, so he's winning 2.2 more than a Leny Yoro. But success, Leny Yoro just about edges it, but again, that's neither really here nor there. Clearances, Leny Yoro's just about beating Jarell Quansah. Again, like I said, Quansah's only played 17 games, so it's basically half of the amount of games that Leny Yoro has actually played, and these numbers are still looking somewhat better. Somewhat in certain areas, yes. In other areas, of course, no. But I feel like that would just be purely down to the sheer volume of games. And again, not to dismiss Leny Yoro. I really want to reiterate that it's not to say he's not a good player, but when you look at these things, forward passes, duels contested, tackles made in games, aerial duels contested, aerial duels won, 3.5 to the 1.6. Is that another weakness? You played 32 games, and this guy's played 30, and this guy's played only 17. Is that a weakness? Is that just down to style of play? I guess we'll find out. Open play passes completed, 77 per 90 to the 55. Again, might just be a style of play thing. Passes attempted, passes completed, passing accuracy. That's where Yoro is getting, and as I said, 92.16 does rank him quite high when we're looking at the him versus other centre backs. So good on both sides. Good on both sides. And I think if we already had a player like him here, like we had both of him and a Quansah already in the kind of squad already, Liverpool would be still looking at one more centre back. But then it's just, that's it. We're good with these two, and those two can really kick on. They can really, really kick on. And I wouldn't even mind if someone like a Leny Yoro was to play, potentially on that left-hand side or on the right-hand side. I mean, it doesn't really, make too much difference to me. I mean, judging here, he's played both sides anyway, this season or over the last couple of seasons, but predominantly, of course, on that right-hand side. So yeah, it's an interesting one with Leny Yoro. Again, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section in regards to him. As I said, just like a quick overview of someone like Leny Yoro. He could play. I think the fee will be maybe upwards of about 40 mil potentially. So is that really something that we want to? I say we, as if we're the ones spending any money, but in terms of you as a fan, do you look at that and think, yeah, that's the one we should really go out for, that's the one we should really sign, etc., etc.? Guys, just let me know what you think in the comment section, and throw in some more names, players that we've of course been linked to. I'll be doing a lot more scout reports throughout the summer transfer window, so let me know what you guys think. I'm G, Scout Report done and dusted. We out.